So at the very inception of my discussion on feminism, I just like to share my experience that I had 18 years ago, or more than 18 years ago, while I was a young lecturer of Rajshahi BIT, which is now Russia University of Engineering and Technology. I went to the class, and there I found more than 50 students in the class. It was a huge classroom, and more than 50 students were there. And surprisingly, I found only 4 girls students there. And then I asked the students, where are the other girl students? Then they told me that they had 4 girl students in total. So the ratio between the boys and the girls that I discovered there was really surprising. And it inspired me to think about the realities, the social situation, political situation, moral situation of our country. That is, it's a very widely accepted perception that girls are not suitable for engineering, or girls are not suitable for medical science. So why, or what is the factor working behind this perception, or what factor contributed to the development of this perception? The factor that I have discovered is a system, and this system is known as patriarchy. So patriarchy is not a person, or it is not concentrated on father, or patriarchy does not mean fatherhood or the role of father. Patriarchy is a system, and in the nucleus of this system, masculinity is there. So patriarchy is not a person, or patriarchy is not father. Patriarchy is a system. Now, what does this patriarchy do? Patriarchy is based on sexism, which is the belief that women are innately inferior to men, less intelligent, less rational, less courageous. So man believes that man is the decision maker and women are the followers. And in this way, girls are objectified. So this attitude towards women, or the projection of the image of women in this way, in this framework, may be termed as the objectification of women. And objectification of women is the nucleus of patriarchy. I just like to give you some references to the present situation. of the country. According to Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics and the United Nations Population Fund, over 70% of married women or girls in Bangladesh have faced some form of intimate partner abuse. So it's a very current statistics. Okay. And another significant organization, that is Bangladesh Human Rights Group, Ain o Shalish Kendra, has reported that at least 235 women, married women, were murdered by their husbands or their families in just first 9 months of 2020. So just think of this statistics, and it will help you understand the condition, the status of women in our country, and not only in our country. This is the situation, or this is the reality of the whole world. If you think of United States of America, in the United States of America, assertiveness in a woman is unattractive. That is, the modern Americans today believe that assertiveness must not go with women. This is a masculine quality, not a feminine quality. And for this reason, they do not feel comfortable with women in leadership. So if you look back 5 years back to the history of America, especially American election, we know that Hillary Clinton competed for the presidential position, but she was not able to win the battle of election. Trump, an iconic corporate person, a businessman, came to the presidential position of United States of America. And many critics, analysts believe that Hillary Clinton was defeated in the election because of the popular perception or patriarchal perception of the Americans. So this is the condition, or this is the status of women. And if you look at India, it is said, or if you go to Wikipedia, you will find these pieces of information, that at least 88 women every day go to the police station for filing up a case, as they are the victims of sexual harassment. And many women do not go to the police station because they think that they will not get sufficient support from the police. Their security would be hazarded. The law enforcing agency would not be able to give them protection. So their resistance or their protest is weighed down by their fear and apprehension. And it is also weighed down by their shame. So just think of the condition of women. And If you analyze this data that I have already presented, one thing that comes to our mind, or which is very clear to us, is that women are marginalized in our society. And this marginalization is not done by a person. It is not a question of a person. It is a question of the system. Now, what is the system which marginalizes women? This system is called patriarchy. So women are living in the margin and men are living in the center. Center is never ready to let women come to the center. Center does never want that. Margin should occupy the position of center. The margin tries to occupy the center. So the relation between center and margin is never friendly. This relation between margin and center is always conflicting. Now the margin where the women live is identified as a space or as a site, S-I-T-E, site, by bell hooks. You must have heard the name of bell hooks, an Afro-American feminist. She has marked this margin as a site, and she has also said that this site is also a location of resistance. So margin is also a place of resistance, resistance against the center. Now, how does this resistance work? This resistance works with a question. This resistance starts working with a question. So what's the question? Don't we belong to the society in which we live? That is, while a girl discovers that she is the victim of different kinds of harassment, suppose sexual harassment, suppose dowry related harassment, or physical torture on the part of her husband or in-laws. So while she goes out and finds that she belongs to a different world, that is, all the people are looking at her with hostility, and all the images that she discovers all around her are masculine images, then she may question, don't I belong to this society? This question inspires her to create resistance. And for that reason, this very margin, this site or this very home place, which is also known as home place, it is called home place by bell hooks. So this home place is a place of resistance. And bell hooks has said that a home place teaches dignity and enables women to confront the issues of humanization. Bell hooks has said in the chapter, that is, she has written a book. The name of the book is Yearning, Race, Gender, and Cultural Politics. In this book, we find several chapters, and the chapter entitled Home Place says that uh, a black woman wrestles not for political equality. A black woman struggles for safety, for security, for dignity. She stands against sexism and racism. Now, racism is not confined to the relationship between black and white. Remember this. Racism works in different forms. Suppose in our country, racism works in the attitude of a man towards a woman, in the attitude uh, of a fair complexioned man towards a man with dark complexion. And this attitude also works, or this racism also works in the attitude of a girl with fair complexion towards a girl with dark complexion. So racism has got different versions. Racism does not only mean that it is the relationship between the black and the white. It is the relationship between man and woman. It is also the relationship between Hindu and Muslim. It is the relationship between a man with fair complexion and a man with dark complexion. So racism works in different forms. Suppose if you look around in our country, it is very difficult uh, for parents to marry off their daughter with dark complexion because they believe that bridegrooms usually want the brides with fair complexion or white complexion. For that reason, many parents are anxious about the marriage of their daughters with dark complexion. So why? What is the source of such anxiety or tension? The source of this anxiety or tension is racism. So racism is also working among us. It is also working in our society. For racism, you need not go to America and explore the relationship between the black and the white or study the case of the death of George Floyd. So, Bell Hooks has said that this home place or this margin works as a resistance, as a site of resistance. So, how? She has given an example. George, Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is a black author. And Bell Hooks has referred to the story of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass has written in his autobiography, that only 4 or 5 times in his life he could have the chance to meet his mother. So why? Because his mother was a slave. She used to work under the mastership or under the command of a white master. So Frederick Douglass and his family used to live in the outskirts of the society, of the city, that is beyond the posh areas of the city. They used to live in a slum, which may be located as margin. And his mother used to go to her master's house every day, and it was 12 miles away from the house. So she had to walk 12 miles every day to reach his master's house. And she must reach the master's home before the sunrise. And if she was late, she was flogged or whipped. For that reason, She could not come to visit her children every day. She used to stay in the master's house because if she wanted to come to her children, she needed to walk 24 miles every day. It is not humanly possible. Very hardly she could come to visit her children at night, and she stayed only a few moments with her children and then left. So Frederick Douglass could have an opportunity to meet his mother only 4 or 5 times in his life. Now, this Frederick Douglass has written a revolutionary narrative in 1845. And Bell Hooks says that this very narrative, this very revolutionary narrative, is an outcome of the experience of Frederick Douglass from the margin or from the home place. So this narrative comes out of the margin as a piece of resistance to the center. Now, in this respect, I like to give you an example of our own society. We know that our world is now a corporatized world. We are living in a corporate world now. And women have at present comparatively got more facilities, job opportunities. They're working in different multinational companies also. They're working in different offices. They're working in banks. They're working in schools and colleges. They're working in also many corporate companies. But just think of a woman's lifestyle. How much time does she get for taking care of her children or for nurturing her children? She goes to the office early in the morning and she comes back home in the evening, and again in the next morning she goes to the office. So she has got only a few hours to pass with her children. So the corporate world is creating job opportunities. And they may also say that they are creating job opportunities for women. But these time consuming jobs do not allow women to pass their sufficient time for nurturing their children, for taking care of their children. Suppose a woman works in a bank. She goes to the bank early in the morning, that is before 9, and she comes out of the bank to her home at 8 in the evening. So just think how much time or how many hours she does she have to pass with her children? Does she have sufficient time to pass with her children? No. So in this way, corporatization of the job market is not also congenial to the women. So the behavior of the corporates, is also patriarchal. Okay. In this way, women are still the victims of exploitation, victims of marginalization. Now, feminism, I have used the term in the title post-colonial feminism or third world feminism. So, what is third world feminism and what is first world feminism? First world feminism goes with the feminism of the colonizers. Actually, the seed of feminism that you will find in the texts of the colonizers is quite different from the realities in which our women are living in our subcontinent or in our country. So our feminism is different from the first world feminism. Our feminism is a discourse. Our feminism is a counter discourse to the discourse of feminism provided by the first world feminism. So our feminism is not equivalent to or equal to or on the same platform of the first world feminism. And our feminism is related to our history, our ideology, our mythology, our folk tales. If you look at the first world countries, their women are fighting for political equality. The women are fighting for their social equality. But in our country, a woman is fighting against different ideologies, against different mythologies. If you look at the myths, religious myths, you will find that women are treated there as Shudra, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Shudra is the lowest caste in Hinduism. And Shudra's duty is to serve the three other castes. And if they do not serve, they will not go to heaven. It's a belief. And the same belief system is working in the subcontinent. If you look around, you will find that our women have to fight against the myths. I just like to draw your attention to Thakur Marjuli. You enjoyed this Thakur Marjuli. You have also read this text in Bangla, and many of you have enjoyed the cartoon series on Thakur Marjuli. In Thakur Marjuli, the goblins or the Shakchunni, or especially the witches, the evil spirits, most of the evil spirits are women. So women are treated here, women are depicted here with a projection or with an image of evil. So whatever is devilish, whatever is troublesome, whatever is ominous goes with women. So this is the projection of women in our literature, in our folk tales. And if you think of Ramayana or Mahabharata, you will find the same picture there. Women are treated there as Shudras. If you think of Sita, Sita had to prove her chastity. Sita had to prove that she was chaste, even if she was abducted by Ravan. She had to walk on the burning coal to prove that she was chaste. Though she shared the banishment of her husband, though she accompanied her husband to the banishment, she did not have any recognition or appreciation. Rather, she had to prove that she was chaste. She was not violated, sexually violated by Ravan. And while Sita was rescued and taken back to Ajodhya, the people did not want to follow the directives of the king, whose wife was a concubine of another person, that is Ravan. Then Rama, to please the subjects of his country, he again banished his wife Sita. So just think of this behavior of the people. This is called patriarchy. Patriarchal society always thinks that it is a woman's duty to prove her chastity. So a woman is to undergo the cultural anxiety, cultural angst, cultural tension. So the point that I'd like to mention, that third world feminism is different from the first world feminism because in the third world countries, our women fight not only for political equality, but also against the folk belief or belief system, the folk tales, the myths, existing myths of the society, legends of the society. They are to fight against dowry and dowry related harassment. So, this is the most striking characteristic of third world feminism. Now, if you think of the texts, the colonial texts in which our women are depicted, you will find that women there are depicted with all their limitations, with all their ludicrous characteristics. Suppose if you read Othello, I think you were well acquainted with this text, Othello. Now, Othello killed Desdemona. So why? You may come to, or you may concentrate on um, the handkerchief. Okay, that is handkerchief that Othello presented or gifted to Desdemona. Desdemona could not preserve it. She dropped it unconsciously, and it was taken by Amelia and given to Iago. And Iago dropped the handkerchief in the room of Cassio. And Cassio also gifted this handkerchief to Bianca, his mistress. And Othello saw the incident. And for that reason, he was suspicious about chastity of Desdemona. He was suspicious about Desdemona's uh, secret relationship with Cassio. Now, if Othello becomes a killer of Desdemona, then he is held responsible for his ideology. And that very ideology he borrowed from his mother. The handkerchief that Othello inherited, the handkerchief that Othello got from his mother, represents the ideology. Many critics, European critics, say that that very handkerchief represents the ideology of Othello that he borrowed from his mother. His mother got this handkerchief from an enchantress, and she believed that that is, as long as the handkerchief will be with her, her husband would be loyal to her. So, in this way, Othello's mother is depicted here as a woman with superstition, as a woman with prejudice, as a woman with some primitive beliefs. So, just think of this portrayal of a woman, the woman of a third world. Othello's mother was black. She belonged to a third world country. Now, come to the Tempest. In Tempest, Prospero has imprisoned Caliban's mother. So why? Because Caliban's mother, in Prospero's eyes, was a witch. So she was imprisoned in a tree. So just think of the projection of Caliban's mother's character. She is a woman. She is not a woman from England. Remember this. She belongs to a third world woman. And this woman is projected here as a witch. Now, if you think of the heart of darkness, in heart of darkness, towards the in the particular scene in which we find that Marlowe was heading towards the heart of Congo with his steamer to rescue Kus, and suddenly a rain or a shower of arrows came to the steamer, and some crews were killed. And then a woman is described there, a shadowy woman who looked very primitive, was giving command to her followers to attack the steamer. So that very woman is depicted with uh, a wild look, and she was not given any language. The woman did not have any language. She did not speak. She did never speak. So a third world woman does not have any language. And you have read A Passage to India. In A Passage to India, you will find no significant Indian female character. Do you find any significant female character in A Passage to India? No. So Indian female characters are always passive in the colonial text. Actually, this is the nature of first world feminism, which always thinks that a third world woman is a burden to a first world woman. So far, I believe you have got the differences or distinctions between the first world feminism and third world feminism. And in my next class, I will continue this discussion with some elaborations and analysis. So thank you very much.